My sister banned me from her wedding to keep things peaceful. Then, it imploded, and my parents had the nerve to say I owed them for the damage. What I did next broke the family. I'm Sarah, 30 years old, and I never thought my sister's wedding would be the catalyst for what I can only describe as a family nightmare. It all started when I was uninvited from the event. I should have seen it coming, really. My family has a history of drama, small feuds, misunderstandings, and hurt feelings. But this time it felt different. It felt personal. Let me rewind a bit. My sister, Emily, and I have never been particularly close. We've had our ups and downs, like most siblings, but it wasn't until her engagement that things started to unravel. She'd always been the golden child in the family, beautiful, popular, and charming. I'd never had the same luck. I'm not saying I'm unattractive, but I'm more on the quiet, introverted side, and growing up in a family where all the attention went to Emily made me feel invincible most of the time. When Emily got engaged to her now husband Nathan, I was genuinely happy for her. I wasn't one of those bitter, jealous siblings who secretly wished bad things upon their siblings' happiness. But I'll admit, I did feel like I was slowly being pushed out of the picture. It wasn't a conscious thing at first, but looking back, the signs were there. My opinions on her wedding plans were dismissed, my suggestions for bridesmaid dresses were ignored, and even my attempts to help with the planning were met with a lukewarm reception. I was always too busy to be involved, apparently. But fine, I thought. If they didn't want my help, I wouldn't force myself into the situation. Then came the day I got the call. It was my mom, and she sounded oddly serious. "Sarah," she started, her voice tight. "We need to talk about the wedding." "Okay, what about it?" I asked, not knowing where this was going. "Well, Emily's really worried about the drama with you, and she's made the decision to uninvite you to the wedding." I was shocked. I couldn't even speak for a second. "What do you mean, uninvite me?" "She's just concerned that, with everything going on, having you there will cause more problems. You know how emotional she's been with all the planning." "She thinks it'll be better this way," Mom said, her tone apologetic but firm. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't like I'd been causing trouble. Sure, we had disagreements, but I wasn't some drama queen who threw fits at every family event. This felt like a slap in the face. I had been working my tail off at a job I didn't like, trying to keep things together in my own life, and now my family, my sister no less, was telling me I wasn't welcome at the most important event of her life. I tried to stay calm, but my voice wavered. "So that's it? I'm just not invited anymore?" Mom hesitated. "I know it's hard, but she thinks it's for the best." I didn't know what to say. I wasn't even sure how to feel. Was I angry, hurt, betrayed? All of those things and more. I couldn't even bring myself to talk to Emily about it. Every time I tried, I felt like I was just going to burst into tears. I knew that whatever I said, it wouldn't make a difference. The damage was done. After a few days of brooding, I came to a conclusion. I wasn't going to sit around and sulk. If Emily didn't want me at her wedding, then I wasn't going to be there. I'd do something for myself instead. So I booked a last-minute vacation to a small beach town I'd always wanted to visit. It wasn't an extravagant trip, just a simple solo getaway to clear my head. I spent the next few weeks focusing on myself, reading, hiking, and relaxing by the water. I tried not to think about the wedding or what was going on back home. It wasn't easy, but it helped. The day of the wedding came, and while everyone in my family was busy with the event, I was walking along the shore, enjoying the peace and quiet. It felt good to have a break from the stress, from the constant weight of being in the shadow of my sister's perfection. But of course, drama doesn't stop just because you're on vacation. A few days into my trip, I got a call from my dad. "Sarah, we need your help," he said, his voice strained. "Something's gone wrong with the wedding." I immediately felt a knot form in my stomach. What happened? "Well, it's Emily. She's having a meltdown. The wedding is falling apart and we need you to come home and help fix things." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything that happened, after I was specifically told I wasn't welcome, now they wanted my help? They wanted me to swoop in and save the day when things had gotten too messy? "I'm sorry, but no," I replied, my voice more confident than I felt. "I'm on vacation right now, Dad. You guys told me I wasn't wanted there and now you want me to help? I don't think so." There was silence on the other end of the line before my dad finally spoke again. "Sarah, this is serious. You're the only one who can help. Please, just come home. We can't afford to fix this without you." The nerve, the audacity. I was furious, but I also felt a strange sense of satisfaction bubbling up inside me. "Dad," I said, my voice cold now. "You know what? You can figure it out. I'm done being the family's backup plan when things go wrong. Emily's the one who wanted to push me out of the picture. Let her deal with the mess she's created." I hung up, feeling a mix of relief and anger. I wasn't about to drop everything to run back home and fix their problems. But as the hours passed and I thought more about what my family was asking of me, the more I started to feel like maybe, just maybe, they'd taken my absence for granted. I didn't have to help them. I didn't have to come to the rescue. But I was beginning to wonder how far Emily and my family were willing to go to make it all right. Maybe I wasn't done yet after all. That night I received a text from my mom. "Please, Sarah, I know things got messed up, but Emily is begging for your help. She's lost it, and the wedding is a disaster. Please, we need you." I stared at the message for a long time, biting my lip. The situation was escalating quickly, and I couldn't help but wonder if I had a chance to get some kind of justice out of this. They had disrespected me, pushed me aside, and now they needed me. The question was, how far was I willing to go to make them pay? I didn't respond to my mom's text immediately. For once, I needed time to think. I had spent so many years being the family's doormat, always cleaning up their messes, always bending over backward to make everyone else happy. But this time, no. I was done. The next morning, I woke up to more texts. There were calls too, but I ignored those. My phone buzzed with a new message from my dad. "Sarah, I really need you to come home. It's getting worse. Emily's completely freaking out and the wedding's been called off. We need you here." That last part hit me like a ton of bricks. The wedding's been called off. I was confused, to say the least. What did that mean? Did she leave Nathan? Was she having second thoughts? If it had been an issue with the wedding, if she'd gotten cold feet, wouldn't they have told me that already? I decided to call my dad back. I needed to hear it from him, in his voice, what exactly was going on. "Dad," I said when he picked up, "you said the wedding was called off. What happened?" He sighed deeply, and I could hear the stress in his voice. "It's a mess, Sarah." Emily panicked. She didn't feel ready, I guess. She had a meltdown right there in front of everyone. Nathan was crushed, the guests were confused, and the whole thing just fell apart. I was stunned into silence. This wasn't what I'd expected to hear. But everything was paid for, wasn't it? All the vendors, the venue? "Yeah, it's all paid for, and now, well, that's where you come in." I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. "What do you mean, where I come in?" "Look, Sarah, we can't afford to cover the full cost of this," he said, his voice taking on a more pleading tone. "We're in a tight spot. Emily's freaking out about the money. You know how much everything costs, and now she's asking for you to help pay for it. You're the only one who can do it." I almost dropped my phone. I felt like I was going to choke on my own word. Wait a minute. You want me to pay for the wedding that I'm not even part of, the wedding that I wasn't invited to? There was a pause before my dad said, I know it's a lot to ask, but Emily is losing it, Sarah. She's blaming herself, and now she's desperate. You're the only one who can help, and I'm begging you. If you don't, things are going to get really ugly. We'll be buried in debt for years." I was shaking. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was some kind of twisted joke, right? After they'd shut me out, after they'd made it clear I wasn't wanted, now they were asking for my financial help? And it wasn't just any kind of help. They weren't asking me to come in and offer emotional support or help with a small part of the aftermath. No, they wanted me to pay half of the wedding costs. Half for a wedding that had already been planned, paid for, and then canceled because Emily had a panic attack. I wanted to scream, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I took a deep breath and tried to stay calm. "Dad, you've got to be kidding me. I'm not paying for anything, not a dime." "Sarah, please," he said, his voice desperate. "This is bigger than just Emily's meltdown. This is about the whole family. If you don't help, we'll be in serious trouble. Please. You're the only one who can make this right." I had to put the phone down for a second. I couldn't breathe. The audacity, the nerve of it all. "Dad," I finally said, my voice shaking, "you're asking me to fix a mess I didn't create. You and Emily made the choice to exclude me, to shut me out, and now I'm supposed to clean up the wreckage? That's not how this works." He stayed silent, and I could practically hear him trying to come up with a way to convince me. But there was no way to sugarcoat this, no way to make it sound anything other than what it was. A blatant, shameless attempt to shift responsibility for their bad decisions onto me. The silence stretched on, and then I heard my dad's voice again, softer this time. "I don't want this to come between us, Sarah, but if you don't help, I'm afraid things might never be the same between you and the family." That was it. That was the line that pushed me over the edge. My dad was threatening to pull the family card, trying to guilt me into doing something I didn't want to do. I could feel the weight of every single bit of resentment I had toward them all coming to a head. "You know what, Dad?" I said, my voice steady. "If you want me to pay half, you can forget it. I've spent my whole life being the afterthought, the one who always has to clean up everyone else's mess. But not this time. I'm done. There was a long pause. Sarah, don't do this. You're not thinking clearly. Emily's having a breakdown. She needs you. Then she can figure it out. I'm not your safety net anymore, I snapped before hanging up. I felt a surge of anger mixed with relief. They had pushed me too far. I wasn't just some cash cow they could milk when they were in trouble. For once, I wasn't going to be the one who fixed everything. But as the days went by, the messages didn't stop. My mom, my dad, even distant relatives all begged me to help. They all reminded me how much they'd done for me, how families should help each other out. The guilt started creeping in, but I shoved it aside. I had to stay strong. I wasn't going to cave. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, I got a message from Emily herself. Sarah, please. You're the only one who can help us. This is a disaster, and we're drowning in debt. If you don't step in, I don't know what will happen. You have to help. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, and I was flooded with so many emotions: anger, frustration, resentment, but most of all, betrayal. This wasn't just a wedding gone wrong. This was an entire system of manipulation, guilt-tripping, and toxic behavior, and they expected me to fix it. I stared at the message for what felt like hours, my mind racing. The words from Emily were just more of the same manipulation I had come to expect from them all. You're the only one who can help. You have to fix this. The guilt was heavy, but not heavy enough to make me cave. I wasn't their fault plan anymore. For too long, I'd been the one they turned to when things went wrong. The one they knew would clean up the mess, pick up the pieces, and make everything okay again. But I wasn't going to do it anymore. Not for Emily, not for anyone. It was time to finally take control of my life. Time to stop letting them dictate my happiness. I took a deep breath, my hand shaking as I typed out a response. Emily, I've been thinking about everything you've said, and the truth is, I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to fix your mess. I'm not going to bail you out. You've made it clear where I stand in this family, and I'm done being the one who has to clean up after everyone else. I'm sorry, but I'm cutting ties. I don't need any of you in my life anymore. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. My heart was pounding, my body tense as I sat there staring at the screen. Part of me was terrified of what they would say, how they would react. But the other part of me, the stronger part, the one that had been buried under years of guilt and manipulation, felt free. I was finally standing up for myself. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from my mom. I let it ring. Then another from my dad, then Emily. They were relentless, bombarding me with messages and calls, but I didn't answer. I couldn't. Instead, I sat there, my mind swirling, wondering if this was really the right decision. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe they needed me, but then I remembered the years of resentment that had built up. How they treated me like I was invisible, like I was nothing but a convenient punching bag for their problems. I thought about the wedding, how they'd completely shut me out, all the while expecting me to show up when things went south. They hadn't even given me a chance to be part of the family, so why should I sacrifice everything to be part of their chaos now? I shook my head and turned my phone off. The next couple of days were the longest I'd ever lived through. The guilt gnawed at me, but so did a sense of pride. I had made the decision. I had stood my ground. I wasn't going to be their scapegoat any longer. But then came the storm. I was sitting in my living room trying to focus on a book when I heard my doorbell ring. I froze. I wasn't expecting anyone, and I certainly wasn't expecting the last people I wanted to see. I opened the door to find my mom and dad standing there, both looking like they'd been crying. My mom's eyes were red, her makeup smudged, and my dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past week. Sarah, my mom said, her voice breaking, please, just hear us out. I crossed my arms, trying to remain calm, but I could feel my heart beating faster. What do you want? We're sorry, my dad said, his voice low. We didn't mean to push you away, we don't know what to do. We're in deep, and Emily, she's not handling it well. She's falling apart, and we're scared. I let out a breath, not letting the guilt slip in. You think I don't know how that feels? You think I haven't been scared for years, living in a family where I'm treated like a second-class citizen, where I'm only good enough to clean up the mess but never to be part of the solution? We were wrong, Sarah, my mom said, her voice trembling. We were wrong to shut you out. We should have been there for you. We just didn't realize how bad it had gotten. Yeah, well, now you know, I said, my voice cold. Now you know exactly how bad it is. I saw them exchange a look. My mom bit her lip, her face falling. Please, Sarah, she pleaded. I know we've hurt you, but you can't turn your back on family. You just can't. I shook my head. You don't get it, do you? You've been turning your back on me for years. It's always been me who has to fix everything, and now, when I finally decide to stand up for myself, you want me to come back and clean up your mess? But I'm done. I don't need you, not like this." They both stood there, speechless, clearly taken aback by my anger and the finality in my words. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. "I'm not your safety net anymore. You made your choices, and now you'll have to live with the consequences. I've got to move on with my life. I deserve better than this." My dad opened his mouth like he was about to say something, but then he just closed it. He looked at me, really looked at me, as if seeing me for the first time. Then he turned and walked away, my mom following behind him, still silent. I didn't feel relief at first. I felt a mixture of exhaustion and disappointment, like I was carrying a weight I couldn't shake off. But as the day went on, I started to feel something else, something I hadn't felt in years: peace. I was free, and as hard as it was, I knew I had made the right decision. The days that followed were strangely quiet. At first, it felt like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders, and I found myself breathing easier. I hadn't realized just how suffocated I had felt by my family's constant demands and expectations until I cut myself loose. But the calm didn't last long. About a week after I'd cut ties with them, Emily sent me another message. This time there was no pleading, no begging, just a cold, hard accusation. "You know, I thought you'd be different, but you've proven us right. You've always been selfish, Sarah. Don't bother coming to the family reunion this summer. You won't be missed." I stared at the message for a long time, the words stinging more than I expected. Emily had always been the one to throw stones and then act like she'd done nothing wrong. But it wasn't just her words that hurt. It was the realization that this was how they all saw me, a selfish person for finally putting myself first. I didn't respond. Instead, I deleted the message and took a deep breath, reminding myself why I'd made the decision I had. They wanted me to keep sacrificing my happiness for their drama, their mistakes, their chaos. I wasn't going to do it anymore. A few days later, I received a call from my mom. I didn't pick up. The following day, my dad called again. I ignored it. The guilt was still there, gnawing at me, but I knew it wasn't the guilt of walking away from them. It was the guilt of letting go of a family that had never truly been there for me. I wasn't abandoning them. I was finally protecting myself. Then, on the third day after I'd ignored their calls, my mom showed up at my door unannounced. I could see her through the window, standing in the yard with a pained look on her face. I didn't hesitate this time. I opened the door, my heart racing. "Sarah," she said, her voice soft, almost pleading, "please, I know you're angry, but we need you. Emily's a mess, and this wedding thing is spiraling. We really need your help." Her words struck me like a slap to the face. They weren't even trying to apologize. They weren't acknowledging anything they had done wrong. They just wanted me to come back and fix things. I shook my head, trying to steady myself. "No, Mom. I'm done. I'm not going to keep cleaning up the messes you create. You've had plenty of chances. I'm not the solution anymore." Her eyes filled with tears, and she stepped forward, reaching out as if to pull me back into their drama. "Please, Sarah, we're your family. Don't leave us like this." My chest tightened, and I almost let the emotions take over. But then I remembered everything: the years of manipulation, the guilt trips, the way they'd always expected me to pick up the pieces of their lives without ever considering how it affected me. "No," I said firmly, "I can't keep doing this. I've given everything I had to this family, but you never gave me anything in return. I don't need you to make me feel guilty for choosing my own life. I've given up on you." I saw her face crack, the mask of a loving mother falling away as she realized I wasn't coming back. For a moment I thought she might lash out, but instead she just looked at me, hurt, disappointed, and defeated. "You'll regret this," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't reply. I just closed the door, slowly, deliberately. It wasn't easy, not by any means. I knew that the backlash was coming, that they would twist everything and make me the villain. But as I sat in my living room that night, I realized something profound. I wasn't their scapegoat anymore. I wasn't going to be the one to fix their problems. I wasn't going to keep sacrificing my peace for their chaos, and that felt like the biggest victory of all. Over the next few weeks, the calls stopped, the messages stopped. I didn't hear from my family at all. At first, I was anxious, checking my phone at every buzz, wondering when they would show up at my door again. But it never came. And as the silence stretched on, I began to feel something I hadn't in years: relief. I spent my time focusing on myself, taking trips, investing in hobbies, reconnecting with friends who weren't part of the toxic dynamic I'd left behind. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was living my life for me, not for anyone else. Then, one evening, a text came in from Emily. It wasn't an angry message or a demand for money or help. It was simple, almost apologetic. I miss you. I don't know where we went wrong, but I wish things were different. I stared at the message for a long time, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I could feel the old pull of family loyalty trying to drag me back, but I resisted. I didn't owe them anything, not anymore. I typed a response, slow and deliberate, something I hadn't been able to say to them before. I'm sorry, Emily, but I can't keep doing this. I need to take care of myself. I hope you understand. I hit send and set my phone down, finally feeling like I was no longer tethered to the past. The family I had known for so long had fractured, and while that was painful, it was also liberating. I had finally chosen me. And in that choice, I realized that sometimes, cutting ties with the people who are supposed to love you the most is the only way to save yourself. And in the end, that's exactly what I did. I saved myself.